Well, everybody, it looks like Bambu has gone and done it again. A few years ago, they revolutionized the 3D printing market with the launch of the P1 and the X1 printer. When they launched this new Core XY system, everyone else was still making bed slingers. The design of those didn't change for like decades. But when Bambu introduced their new printers, they had different looking hardware devices you could access from anywhere on your phone or computer, and a website for models where you can just find something and print pieces with just a few clicks, no slicers needed. Now they've taken the P1S and the X1 carbon printers and like smushed them together into the Bambu Labs P2S. It's not as revolutionary as the P1 and the X1 are, but it is packed with every single upgrade that I wish that the P1S had had, plus some quality of life improvements that I didn't even know that I wanted. The P2S also closes the gap between the P1S and the X1 carbon, which explains why Bambu says that it's going to be replacing both models with the P2S. I love this P1S, which started life as a P1P. I have used it constantly since I got it. I just checked, it has 4,274 hours on it. That is 180 full days of 24/7 printing. But with all of those 4,000 printing hours, there were features I really kept wishing for, and the P2S has them. Okay, so let's talk about improvements. The biggest one for me by far is the 5-inch touchscreen that is inherited from the X1 Carbon. The P1S's tiny, lousy screen with the D-pad controls is so annoying that whenever I print something, I bring my phone or my computer down to the printer because there are some things that I can't even find to do on here. So let's talk about what you're getting. You have that 5-inch touchscreen with their second generation, easier to use user interface. You get a quick swap hotend, say that 5 times really fast, and you can change nozzles in under a minute. I think this is huge because it's what I liked best about the A1 and the A1 Mini. With that interchangeable print head, you can go from a 0.2 to a 0.4 in just a few minutes. And the main reason that people would swap out the nozzle was to get a hardened steel nozzle, which comes standard on the P2S. So you can do exotic filaments with the built-in nozzle, no problem at all. The P2S also has what they call DinoSense extruder. There is 70% more extrusion force in that extruder with autoflow dynamics. And so the autoflow dynamics continuously measures the filament coming out of the head, which means you don't get too little or too much filament when you're printing, which is one of the biggest causes of print failure. Which brings us to the AI-powered computer vision, which detects spaghetti prints and nozzle blobs. Now, the AI vision system came in handy several times. The first was when the filament chute filled up and the printer paused, and it warned me about that. Although sometimes it is a little bit overzealous. It flags pieces above the chute level that would have dropped down on their own. I dialed back the AI threshold that it warns me at, and the job finished perfectly. There's also a 1080p camera, which is great. The camera inside of here is a potato. You can barely see anything on the P1S's camera. As you can see from these time lapses, the camera in here is so much better, and the light is bright enough that you can see what's going on whether there's light in the room or not. The P2S uses an active airflow system, which means that it switches between cooling for PLA and heat retention for ABS and nylon and other exotic filament. Now, I didn't say it has heating because it doesn't have a heater. What it does do is it blows in external air if you're printing PLA, and then if you're printing something that requires a higher temperature, then it closes off that vent and it blows the air around. Usually the heat from the hot end is enough to keep the temperature in the enclosure enough that you can print those filaments, but not always. And so if you're really going to print something that requires very hot temperatures, you want a printer that's got a built-in heating system. Setup is simple, as easy as it is to set up a P1. So the original P1 took me about 15 minutes to set up, and then the P2S took me about 30 minutes, but mostly because I had to get that AMS system out from inside the enclosure. I'm going to talk about the AMS Pro 2 as if it's part of the P2S here, because I think that most people are probably going to get the P2S with the AMS 2 Pro combo. That's because multi-filament is one of the big advantages to working with Bambu's printer. On the side of this printer is an external filament spool, but the cool thing is that you can use it even if you are using the AMS 2 Pro. My very first job was a new version of this multicolor lightsaber that I designed. Well, thank you. I think I did a really good job too. So what I did is I took the silver silk PLA filament that I had and I started to print with it. But this filament is about 1.5 years old at this point, and even though I dried it in the filament dryer, it just was brittle and it kept failing on prints. So then what I decided to do was I used one of Bambu's metallic filaments right here to print, and then a brand new spool of silk gold PLA, and I had no problems at all. One of the very first things that I do is I use the manufacturer's filament, because that lets me test their specific profiles for their filaments, and then I know that what I'm getting is the best print possible with the manufacturer's filament. The other thing that I do is then I run this Elegoo matte PLA through it, and this is my favorite type of filament. You can see me talking about how much I like it up here in this video. This is not sponsored, I just love this filament. Since I use these in all of my printers, if a print fails, I know that it's not a filament issue, it's a printer issue. The day after I did that multicolor print, I got an order for a railgun prop that I make. It is the most complex cosplay item that I print, with several day-long prints. The P2S handled it perfectly, as did the P1S. One of these was off of the P2S, one of them was off of the P1S, and I cannot tell a difference in the print quality between the two of them. Where the AI came in handy was on a print of these guys, which are magazines for the railgun, and in order to not have a ton of support material, they have to be printed on an angle. Very often, one or two of these will fall over on a print, no matter what printer I'm using. It's just a very steep angle that they have to be printed on. What happens normally is that these fall over and I get spaghetti everywhere, but this time I got a push notice from the Bambu Handy app while I was sitting in a coffee shop, and I was able to skip the parts that had fallen over, and it did the rest of the print perfectly. The other thing I wanted to check was the speed between the two units to see if there was any difference. There should not have been any difference because they have the same printing internals, and there was no difference. What I did is I took this print, it's a PETG print that I use as railing caps on the top of some of my railings here around my house. I started the print at the same time on both of the printers. Layer for layer, they were almost exactly the same speed. So let's talk about pros and cons here, because realistically, it's very hard to talk about the experience of using a printer, especially these days with the newer systems of 3D printers that are not bed slingers. The printer either does what it's supposed to do, or it does not. If you send a print to the printer and it fails, printer didn't do well. If you send a print to the printer and it comes out great, that's what a printer's supposed to do. Just like other Bambu printers, this one just plain works. So on the pro side, we have a fast and easy setup, a great printing experience, a fantastic printing ecosystem, reliable output, great upgraded interface, a semi-passive heating system, and an interchangeable hot end system. There's AI-based failure detection, remote printing, and a website of prints ready to go without a slicer. If you also use the AMS2 Pro, there's the advantage of having the new filament dryer. On the con side, pretty much all we have is the fact that you have to use this thumb drive when you're saving time lapses. Now, having a USB slot here is great. If you don't want to use LAN printing, if you don't want to use cloud printing, you can still walk up to your printer, you can drop this in, and you can print a job. The thing that was so great about the P1 and the X1 was that they just plain worked right out of the box. An experienced 3D printer user got more reliability and easier setup and maintenance than their existing printers. A newcomer to 3D printing got a system that didn't require bed leveling or messing with Z-axis calibration. New features make the P2S a much better value and a much better system, and have a much better user experience while reducing print failure. As of the recording of this video, the P1S is still available on Bambu's site, and at least right now there is a very big sale going on. So I'm really curious, are you a new 3D print enthusiast looking for your first printer? Are you a Bambu user looking to upgrade to the P2S? Or are you using some other system and you're looking to switch over to the Bambu ecosystem? Oh, and if you're a print farm and you're thinking about these, let me know why, because I'm really interested to hear specific thoughts about what you think about these in a print farm environment. So if you have any questions or things to say about this printer, please do me a favor and leave those in the comments below. I will try and answer any question that I can. For Dave Tries This, I'm David Schloss, and as always, thanks so much for giving this a try.